Welcome to another live stream, everybody. Bitcoin, let's face it, has been volatile as hell lately. Honestly, this price action wasn't all too unpredictable in my opinion. You guys know for weeks that I was waiting for this pullback towards this 4-hour Stuber Fib pocket. I know I'm hearing a lot of manipulation, I'm hearing a lot of capitulation, but realistically, you guys know I'm usually showing 5-minute charts, 1-minute charts, stuff like that, but this structure is no different from any typical scalp setup I would take off a 1-minute or a 5-minute chart. I don't care that it's the 4-hour. Market structure is market structure. Yes, it feels painful when you experience a full swing on a 4-hour chart, but that's all this looks like to me, was just a 4-hour swing, just a retrace, a healthy retrace after setting a new high. The thing that concerns me about all of this is that new high that we had, it never even closed candle bodies above that. It did just grab a little bit of liquidity above this wick here and then crash back down. So it's got a little less strength than I would typically consider from a Stuber Fib down here. Also, you guys know I'm very bearish on the weekly. I'll get into that in a second. But also the fact that we're coming down to this Stuber Fib again. Everybody was posting so much FOMO across all social media when we got up to these levels because, oh, look how much strength there is from the bulls. And immediately that strength died off. Like, to me, this was nothing other than, this was very expected. That's why even though I was bearish on the weekly, I still stabbed at a long there at just under 94K. Because to me, that was just a typical market structure pullback. So often when I get these Stuber Fibs, you guys know that I often talk about the fact that I really only like to play them the first time. And that's because the first time, it's like I don't know if you want to call it a market maker secret or what it is, but so often you get that very first test of that level, you're going to get some kind of a reaction. Obviously not every time, but so often, especially when you have a structure like this, where in this case, you know, we've set a higher high. It makes sense that if we pull back down towards the support of this range, that, you know, market makers, the big players, swing traders, anybody who understands technical analysis are going to take a swing at a long down at support, right? Because you're buying support, selling resistance. So I think it just makes a lot of sense that so often we see this level tested the first time with that immediate reaction. And it's such a safe bet on so many trade setups, right? I mean, obviously we did hit my first target of the 0.5 fib. I've taken most of my profits off of that long already. I'm mostly short in this market. I hedged very close to the top. 101,626 is where my hedge short is. And then I'm also in another short from earlier today. But I'm favoring the downside because, you know what? I don't have as much faith as I did in this support a second time. Yes, I'm not going to completely turn a blind eye to it. I'm not going to say that support doesn't exist anymore. It's very possible we find support at these levels, right? That's the thing, guys, is when it comes to trading, yes, it's great to be correct. It helps, you know, when your analysis plays out, yeah, it's a great ego boost and everything like that. But other than that, it's the reacting to it that is important in trading. And, you know, there's so many people who now are going to see this support level and think, oh yeah, I mean, it's obvious support. I'm going to long the shit out of this time. You know, there's a very good possibility that the fact that we have to come back down to this level again, it may not be as likely to play out, or the bounce gets a little bit weaker. If we see a weaker bounce off this level where we hit this again and only get up to here and start reversing, I'm going to be very concerned about the health of this market. For a few reasons. Just sticking to the 4-hour here before I get into my main concerns is, let's bring out the Trendmaster indicator, my favorite indicator of the bunch. And the way I love looking at this indicator is when a signal is trending. So in a case like this, you know, we have our higher trending sell signals, and then we got basically a perfect double top on these sell signals. So it's not on its own, I'm still willing to give that some weight, give it a little bit of credit that it looks like, hey, these buy signals and sell signals look like they're rolling over. Sure as shit, we get that double top sell signal and absolutely nuked straight down to that support level that I was watching. My concern now with the price is that we have got significantly lower than this buy signal. So even if we do recover at this point, I think it's quite likely that we set a lower buy signal and then set another lower sell signal, so we'd get a fib pull from somewhere like this, just setting a lower high resistance point where we end up getting rejected to the downside again. That's kind of what I'm eyeing up if we do bounce from here, because honestly guys, I promise I'm not a perma bear, but I am stuck bearish for the medium term here because of this big signal here. This is the same correction, the same type of chart that I got very bearish on in the summer. A lot of you guys will remember that. I've had people tell me I was wrong about that. I think, predicting a crash and we dumped 30% before going back to the upside. I think that was a beautiful bearish call myself. But we're seeing a lot of the same sentiment. We're seeing the exact same chart setup where we get kind of a double toppy type of thing. I love taking resistance blocks, especially on longer time frames like this, basically using candle wicks to our highest candle bodies. It's just kind of a resistance pocket that I've grown to use over the years. And then looking for this very specific overextended to regular territory, like the 70 level, bearish RSI divergence. Very specific. It's not every bearish divergence I play or anything like that, but that's a very specific one. I back tested a lot of that on the daily and the 4-hour charts, like literally over 3 years of data on both of those, and it tested it was a 87% success rate to get a very large reversal, basically. So the fact that I see this on the weekly chart, I'm not going to totally ignore it. I trade that on the 5-minute all the time. I trade that on the 1-minute all the time. The thing about this, guys, is yes, it's not going to play out every time, right? Just because it's 87% of the time it plays out for me, there is still that 13% chance that it's not going to. That's where you have invalidations. Invalidation to the upside. Yeah, if we break the highs, or I'll even say if the RSI just gets back into overbought conditions, I will turn into a moon boy again. I think that would be showing a lot of strength, because in a strong uptrend when we're overbought, I mean, that's just showing a shit ton of strength. It's the fact that we're testing the same resistance with significantly less strength that I have an issue with. And on top of that, fundamentals feel very similar to back in summer. People have short memories. We often forget how we felt at these levels. Trump started speaking about Bitcoin more in his campaign right around these levels, where he got very vocal about it. And it was that perfect bearish divergence on the RSI. I was warning about that. It was even a Stuber Fib. If I pull it like that, it was a perfect 886 resistance test there. And then again, we got another rally after setting another lower low. And then this peak was literally the day Trump gave that public speech about Bitcoin. And after that day, we triggered a 30% correction with that same RSI divergence kind of set up with that double top, right? The thing is, right now, where we've topped out so far is another huge FOMO Trump moment, his inauguration date. And we have so far seen a 16% correction to the downside from that. So you're seeing, 18, 16, whatever it is, somewhere in there. So a serious correction already. And so, yes, you know what? There's the chance that that's all it had. You know what? Maybe we're finding support at this horizontal support level. It's the fact that the RSI is still dropping, so we're still losing strength at the same level in the market on a macro time frame. We still have crazy FOMO around fundamentals. And here's the thing, you guys. I hear so many, and I mean so many, basically every influencer I see on Twitter and YouTube and stuff, is I see so many people say, ignore the noise, trade the charts. As traders, not investing, but as traders, ignore the noise, trade the charts. And I have been seeing all of those same people saying that we are bullish because of the fundamentals, and they're totally ignoring these red flags. They're saying we're going higher for sure, stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, guys. I want to be clear about this. I don't think this bull market's over. But this is the exact signal I will be looking for and treating bearishly until we do get our bear market. And even if this gets invalidated, it doesn't matter. I'm just open to the idea of trading bearishly is all this means. I haven't sold all my bags. I'm not trading with high leverage from this level and with a stop loss way up here. No, I'm trading the 5-minute and stuff. I'm more so shorting and scalping the trend to the downside at these levels. That's kind of more so what I'm after with this bearish price action. But I'm going to treat this signal bearishly every time I ever see it in my life. Until that changes, because this 30% correction that we got this summer, a lot of people don't want to give that much credit. I want to be, this is kind of where this hurts. This was the smallest correction this signal has ever printed. And just to show you what I mean, is we had it back here. That was a cycle ender. That's what I mean. You know, that's the signal I'm going to be looking for, because we're testing the same level of resistance with way less strength. Why would we bust through it? So very good call there. That was, what was it, a minus 70 or 75% correction, 77% correction to the downside. I know a lot of you have seen this already in the past. Same signal right here on the weekly. So this technically happened 2 months before COVID. And look at that dump that it ended up calling here. Was been the divergence there. And that is a 68% correction, basically a 70% correction to the downside. And you can see it just any time that, I mean, obviously this market cycle, we were all over that overbought conditions and dropping back in and stuff, but not really any clean. Even the one that did end it, yes, we drop out of that RSI and then eventually dump. But that one wasn't super clean, but any in the recent few cycles here have been very clean and very accurate. So even that whole COVID thing, yes, a lot of people are saying, oh, you know, every time people see the market capitulate or even dump to the downside, they scream manipulation. People have a very hard time understanding that crypto can trade to the downside. And, you know, back here, that's everyone was saying, oh, that's only because of COVID, et cetera, et cetera. And maybe that's true. Maybe this dump only would have been 30% to the downside. Maybe this is where it would have bottomed out. Maybe we would have only got, let's say, a 50% correction, but either way, that was a very strong signal, and the COVID crash happened, technically was predicted by this signal if you played it that way. Take it for what it is. There's a lot of what ifs, ands, or buts behind that, but basically what I'm getting at, very serious reversal signal on any time frame that I see it. That's a trigger for me to start shorting. And I don't care what I feel like fundamentally right now. I agree that, you know, there's so many bullish things for crypto that Trump and his government are doing technically. But I don't know. I see a lot of the fundamentals that are going to affect the price may not actually affect the price until the next cycle, kind of a thing. I don't think it's going to be an overnight thing. Obviously, again, guys, before you get the idea that I'm not willing to be open to any other idea, if we break to the upside, before you say, haha, Stu got wrecked, Stu lost everything, that's not how trading works. You have invalidations to your ideas. The only thing that would change if we flip this bullishly again is I'm going to start trading with leverage to the upside more aggressively. Right now, the only things that's changed with my bearish thoughts is the direction I'm trading with leverage. That's really all that's changed. So a lot of people take it personal when I get bearish. All I'm doing is trading. I'm just, as a hedge more than anything, trading to the downside. That's totally fine, right? So yeah, that's basically where I stand with Bitcoin. Like I said, the 4 hour doesn't look great. The fact that we're coming back down to support is support until it's broken. I'm not looking to start shorting into support by any means, but I'm definitely open to try and catch a scalp that turns into a runner. Like even the short that I took earlier today, this turned into a great runner, but this was just basically off the lower trending sell signals on a shorter time frame as well. Just a reason for me to start looking to go short here when we started kind of rolling over here. Lower buy signal, just a big warning right there that I was looking to start getting bearish again. So I was just looking at this as a scalp. I was already a quarter out of my position down at support here, and I think I only have about 40% of this position left, but I am leaving some running just in case it keeps going, right? But yeah, so that was more of a scalp, hoping it turned into a runner. It did, so I'm going to see where that goes from here. Basically, if we break above this range on the 1 minute, I'm willing to consider the fact that we'll probably end up testing higher and maybe even get stopped at break even. So I actually have my stop loss just above this line a little bit. But as it stands right now, just in case this is just turning into some sort of a big, well, I shouldn't say big because it's just the 1 minute, but big bear flag or just kind of a range and then continue to the downside or whatever, I'm going to leave some of that position run. Aside from that, you guys know I've been in a short on the 5-minute since right up here. Happened to go short. It was basically I longed that pocket down there like I was talking about, guys. I'm very ready. Anyone who's been listening to my streams for the last 2 or 3 weeks, you know that I've been targeting this level. Took that long. I could have got a better entry. Full disclosure, I could have got a much better entry if I treated this like a typical Stuber Fib, because I would have laddered in at the 786 and the 886, and my average entry would actually be somewhere in the middle of this pocket. Since I trade with higher leverage, and since I was open to the idea of that support not necessarily holding, I did wait until we kind of got back above and reclaimed that support box, and that's when I decided to go long, still around that 94K level, actually slightly lower. But as I was saying in some of my other streams, was that as soon as this, like, let me actually change the colors so it's easier to see. But we just had a series of confirming higher highs and higher lows, right? Ever since down here, basically, higher high, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. This is very micro analyzing, but just to show you how powerful this structure actually is. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Where do we go? Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Basically, higher high, higher low. Broke that structure. Here you can see if I draw a straight line. Here, let me just redo that here. Let me make a ray from here. Notice that here is where we actually broke that structure. So that's where I had mentioned that I was looking at taking a head short, because at that point, basically that was the first sign of any weakness. And although, like I said, yes, I was long from 94K, I still wasn't overly bullish on the price. So I was looking basically desperately to find some sort of a head short. And even on the 5-minute, that's the first time that it showed up there. So I've been short ever since, 101.626 is where I hedged. 98.734 is where I scalped, and still in that swing long a little bit. But yeah, I just can't, unfortunately, I just can't get too bullish for you guys right now. I'm totally open to the idea of bounces. It absolutely makes sense. You get recoveries, but I'm having a hard time getting bullish just because of how this weekly chart looks. I think that this kind of a signal typically takes more than a week or two to bottom out. And on top of that, guys, I think it was Sunday I was talking about this. It was right before this big red candle closed, actually, a couple hours before, I think. And I was saying that basically, if we end up closing this double top and we get that red candle close, that I expected within the first day or two of the weekly candle, we would retest this previous candle. Look what we ended up doing. We tested it absolutely perfectly here, and then carrying on lower. So yes, we don't have to keep carrying on lower, but everything I've been predicting since basically, I think down here is where I started warning about this big weekly bearish divergence, and that, kind of how I was expecting it to play out. Over the last month or so, it's played out absolutely picture perfect, and I'm having a hard time getting bullish at this time, because if my theories are correct, that signal is a bigger signal than what's happened so far. Happy to be wrong. You know what? If my altcoin bags and my spot holds recover beautifully, you know what? I'm all for it. At that point, like I said, I just start trading the bullish side of the market more aggressively, and pumping the brakes on my bearish setups. But for now, I'm not ready for that yet. Oh, that's funny. The baguette zone. The baguette meme is cucking Stu. Yeah. He is going to short it after he's done with Trump. Yeah, okay. Speaking of that, yeah, after I'm done with Trump is right. I am not done with Trump. Oh boy. It's just carrying on. Oh boy. let's talk about Trump for a little bit, you guys. I was actually warning about potential resistance up in this level. I believe it was last night. I unfortunately never got my entries up at these levels, and unfortunately I never checked the MDX Trendmaster indicator for my other, for looking for those early reversals, which we in fact got here, where all of a sudden we end up printing a lower sell signal, calling the early reversal before hitting my Stuber pocket. Disappointed with myself that I missed that one, because I've shorting Trump has been basically 90% of my trading over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, unfortunately I'm not in a short on that. So just like, what we were talking about earlier, I don't really see the reason to short into it right now, but after we've dumped this much. If anything, I want to see some sort of a bounce, a lower buy signal, which is looking like would be a likely scenario. And then if I see some sort of a lower sell signal again, or actually another thing I'd be willing to do, let's just remove some drawings here. Since we got this sell signal here, I'd be willing to start chasing this with a fib as well, looking for some sort of a Stuber Fib rejection. If I bring up the ALGO master, actually see it agrees with my fib pull perfectly, and I love doing that for confirmation. I love having a second set of eyes, using the auto Stuber Fibs on the ALGO master indicator. It's the only thing I use that indicator for. But yeah, absolutely beautiful there. So I would consider that as a potential short setup if we do get the bounce. And like I said, looking for a lower buy followed by a lower sell signal. I would also consider looking for a scalp short on the 5-minute in that case. Now let's talk about the big dirty with this coin. Let's get right into it here, and why I am not bullish on it right now. Was that Trump that you were showing the bags? Oh, that was basically the same one. Is this what you posted, Smallio? Okay, guys, let's talk about this right now. I'm seeing a lot of FOMO around this coin, even from people that I wouldn't really expect it from. So I just want to talk about this right now. Here's the thing. It's not that I think this coin is going to zero, but I have my concerns because, when the top 10 wallets hold over 85% of it, and your meme coin wallet that literally tells you that most coins 10 seconds old are totally safe, when it gives you a big red flag on that kind of a coin, you take it serious. And that's exactly what happened. And I've been basically shorting it ever since, up at like $70. There was a big bearish Stuber Fib on the 5-minute, and ever since it never recovered. But basically on this chart here, you guys, on this 4-hour chart, Trump has not once in the history of its life broken a lower high on the 4-hour. Not once. It has not happened. So I'm having a hard time getting bullish or seeing the FOMO around this right now. Could we at least wait for one single structure break in the history of its life before aping into it? Because as it stands right now, the lower high is actually up here. Right? It's not these levels down here, because technically our low followed by our lower low was right there. That structure has not changed yet. So the range that I'm looking at is basically from here, because this was our low, that's our lower low, that's our lower high. Just out of curiosity, this is totally random, but pull in a fib. Let's check it out. We never quite got up to the Stuber Fib there, unfortunately. Not that I was looking for that in the past anyways, but it did get close. But either way, the trend just continues. There has not been, just like what I was going over earlier, right? Let's just say even from here, low, lower low, lower high, 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 lower low, lower high. So not once in the history of this chart has it broken a lower high on the 4-hour. I honestly don't even know if the 1-hour has. I assume the 1-hour has. Yes, here it would have, for example. But yeah, you get my point. I want to see at least some sort of a glimmer of a reversal on the 4 hour followed by a pullback. Because if we break structure, thing is, everyone's scared that, oh yeah, well, if I don't buy here, what happens if it breaks structure and it's bullish and I miss that whole move? Well, yeah, maybe you miss that little bit, or if you wait for a pullback for some sort of certain trade setup that I like to talk about 24 hours a day. We could look for that sort of a thing where you break structure, get your pullback, buy the same level anyways, but at least you have some sort of a reason to do it. I might sound a little bit irritated and a little bearish on this one, but I just cannot bring myself to be bullish on things. I don't care what's happening fundamentally, because it is so much easier to misanalyze what they're doing fundamentally and what frickin' game that they are playing, these people who are in charge of this. How they are going to benefit themselves, because let's face it, they do not care about your feelings. They made that very clear when they rugged from $80 or whatever. So just consider that they're going to do whatever they can to make as much as they can. And whatever fundamentals seem bullish, yeah, they may be bullish, but let's wait until the chart at least gives us a hint that there's something there, right? I've always said it, you guys, especially more recently, I've been saying my biggest hedge on the market is that I literally ignore, what all the traders say, ignore the noise, trade the charts. I'm literally doing that, but then seeing there's so many people out there who are like, oh, but this is happening and this is happening and this is happening. Yeah, maybe it is. I don't know. But any back testing I've done, which is why I trade the patterns that I do, is through back testing. When I back test charts, I don't go and see what was happening fundamentally then. I don't know what was happening in the market 3 years ago when I tested the same chart pattern. So why am I assuming that the fundamentals happening now are any more important than they were back then, right? And if anything, the fundamentals right here are proving that they're doing the exact opposite of what everybody thinks. And that's just my big red flag, guys. I did warn you that today I might trigger some people. I know it's unpopular opinion, but the thing is, guys, I am willing to be wrong, right? All we have to do, that's the thing, is, you know what? I have my bearish theory invalidations. All we got to do is break our highs or get our RSI back into overbought conditions. Two things that I'm allowing the bulls to do that will make me a moon boy again. But until I see that, I will not do it, and I don't care what's happening. My biggest advantage in this market is not giving a fuck what's happening fundamentally, and I mean that every step of the way, that I just do not care what's happening. I will trade the charts. I only know one person in my life, personally anyways, I only know one person personally who does trade fundamentals and news very well. I know a lot of traders, and that's one out of a lot of people who actually does it correctly. The thing is, they are not trading a 5-minute chart. They are not trading a 1 hour chart. They're not trading even a 4 hour or a daily chart. They are trading a weekly chart on fundamentals and news. They are not looking at trading the shorter time frames like what I see a lot of people do across social media. Oh, this is bullish, so I'm going to take this 5-minute setup. That's not how trading the news works, right? Let's look at Trump on the 5-minute again. Speaking of that, before I get too hostile here, it is actually, oh, that was a made up fib that I had, right? So I want to keep this structure here just as a reminder that this is where our structure changed bearish. Let's even make that red. There is our lower high structure that is saved in here. Let's look. ALGO Master, what are you showing us? Okay, it's showing that same fib pull that I mentioned, actually, right? From that previous sell signal from the structure point, or the swing point before that there. That's currently what it's showing. If we do go any lower, then I'm going to consider this an invalid pull. I would still consider pulling a new one myself. But if this range gets broken, then I have to start extending my fibs, right? As the price action changes, then my fibs and my range will change a little bit. But that's kind of what I'm seeing right now if we do get a bounce up to here. I do want to outline that again, because if the indicator picks up some different ones later, it may not continue showing me this. There we go. So yeah, there's my thinking on those. Trump rugged us. Bear flag on the 15-minute BTC. I will go back to Bitcoin in a second. I feel like I got to catch up on the chat because I just realized how long I went on a rant there. Sorry for everybody that I've triggered, by the way. Rugged. Yeah. Trump bag holders right now. Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing so many stories of everyone thinking, oh, this is guaranteed. I mean, look who's shilling it, right? The fucking guy on the biggest world stage is shilling it. So yeah, I totally understand why people think that it's going to go up. The thing is, anytime it bounces, if I was them and I owned 85% of it, I would be trying to sell it on the bounces when I see how low it could potentially go, because let's face it, it's not just going. So yeah, on top of that, on top of them having most of it and wanting to sell it to make profits, also understand that largely what's happening with the price is not so much people panic selling, but leverage holding it down. And there is going to be a lot of leverage holding it down when it has this much momentum to the downside. So yeah, it's got some serious structure to break before I consider Trump getting bullish at all. Yeah, and honestly, like CPI, FOMC, even all those types of meetings, just going back to rant a little bit, even all those, I've never listened to one. Honestly, I've never listened to one of those meetings. I've pumped the brakes. I'll pay attention to when they are, and I'll let the market calm down for a few hours before I start trading again. But I don't listen to numbers and stuff, because here's the thing, everybody listens to those hoping to gain an edge on the market. But that's like, if people are having a hard time trading the charts and they think they're going to trade that better, I mean, really, what's simpler, or actually, no, what's more difficult? What is easier to make a misunderstanding about? A couple colorful lines or the entire global economy? I just think when you try and factor in fundamentals, there's so many places you could make an error. I can't even get started with that. Yes, you can assume that the markets are going to react from something, and then the markets decide to say, screw you, we're going to do this instead. The markets don't give a fuck about our feelings. This rant is stimulating. Don't stop. Getting fired up here. Feeling like, I don't know if any of you guys listened to Crypto Kirby back in the day. He was always beating the shit out of his desk in his rants. That's how I feel right now. And honestly, that's how I'm seeing it. To be honest, Trump is a super liquid asset. Trade that shit. 100%. That's exactly why I started trading it a few weeks ago, was because I didn't care which way it was going. The fact that there was leverage pairs on basically every exchange, it was very high liquid, very like, yeah, just tons of liquidity there to trade. You're not getting any crazy slippage, but it's volatile as hell. It's been my coin of choice, and shorting has been my method of choice. James at the water cooler. Wonder whatever happened to that guy. Honestly, I gotta give credit where credit is due. He is the reason why I ever looked into shorting in this market. I never knew leverage trading was even a thing. And then I was listening to him more, and he was talking about shorting things, shorting Bitcoin Cash specifically. It was after the 20K top. And I remember he was crushing that bear market, and I was like, I gotta pay attention to this more. I gotta figure out how to short here, because I saw the big descending triangle forming. And honestly, one of my first leverage trades ever was shorting right here. Taking a momentum short on this structure break of that descending triangle. I remember there was me and the two buddies that kind of got me into trading. We were hanging out and we watched this weekly close, and I remember taking a big, what I considered a big short at the time, and it just absolutely nuked, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. So, Yeah, yeah, that's basically what started me with getting into leverage trading a little bit. Just a fun little backstory. What is the Algo Master looking? Algo Master is showing a bullish Stuber Fib here. I personally disagree with this one. I mean, it's still a good fib pull. It's still, you know, obviously, yes, we have this nice range here. I just think it lacks a little bit of follow through because we never did. You know, here this would have been our low, lower low, lower high. We broke that, so this is our high. So this is more so the bullish range that I would be considering at this time, not so much that smaller one. So that's one of those times where I really love having that indicator just point out potential ranges that maybe I'm not paying attention to or whatever. But that's why I also like being able to pull my own. And this is one of those cases where just tightening up my risk a little bit. I'd only want to try and play this range once if I did. So technically that Stuber has not been tested yet. I'm still not interested in taking the long, honestly. But consider taking no, I don't even want to take more profits on my short. I got a nice stop loss on that one. And the big hedge from up here, break even, so nothing to worry about there. The rant is actually eye-opening. Not that I ever had a hope for Trump coin, but hearing so much news all over the place distracts you from charts and causes some fake hopes. Exactly. And like I said, honestly, I truly think that my edge is not giving a fuck about the fundamentals, because when I just look at the chart for what it is, well, it stopped me from being one of those people who you hear about that they thought, oh, this has to go back up, therefore I am loading up at $50. Oh, 50 is a great buy, 40 is an amazing buy, 30 is an unreal buy, you're never going to be able to buy 20 again, 15, soon it's going to be $1, you're never going to see it at $1 again. So you know, it is what it is. That's why, you know what, me being able to keep all that nonsense at bay really saved me a lot of money on that coin. Let's put it that way. Trump on the 1 minute, technically a higher sell signal, but it looks like we're going to get I would guess, a lower buy signal again. So I don't know. I would rather wait for that 5 minute setup I was looking for. Remember hearing about a Bitcoin 15-minute bear flag? Could be. Yeah, basically at that level of resistance there. Does look a little bit different on the 15. Oh, that's not technically the lower high. That's just giving myself a little bit of extra wiggle room too. So, yeah, let's go back to the 15. Yeah, I mean, we got some consolidation happening down here, right? So maybe that will be a continuation to the downside. Especially the fact that we did end up dropping this support here. You know, if we do get a bounce, then I'd want to be watching for something like so. So in that case, I'd be getting stopped out of my current position, but I'd probably be looking at getting into another one that's very similar to the area that I would have taken my, or sorry, did I say long? Short? That'd be very similar to where I shorted this morning, and I'd be willing to explore those opportunities once again. From there, if we end up breaking that, like when we start breaking the more immediate structure like that, that's where then the next resistance, I wouldn't really try again until getting closer to the top of the full range, right? So where we actually reversed would have been up there. From there, you break that resistance, and then I'm just basically, you know, all the way up. But at this point, it's too early to be looking for that, I figure. Trendmaster. So here's something to consider is look where we're at with the Trendmaster right now on the 15-minute chart. Just look at that beautiful downtrending sell signals, right? Just pointing out a beautiful downtrend. Same with the buy signals, trending to the downside. So a lot of red flags, you know. The 4 hour, like I talked about earlier, we're getting those rounding sell signals. If I hop over to the 1 hour, I believe we also had lower trending ones. I checked last night. Wait for the trend master to load here. Yeah, look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. Notice we get the warning with the lower buy signal, and then we get the confirmation of that lower sell signal, and then another lower buy signal, lower sell signal. And yeah, obviously providing some resistance along the way. Absolutely perfectly. Yeah, this just doesn't look good to me, even right down to the 1 hour chart. I have my concerns. Let's put it that way. Let's put it that way without triggering too many people. Let me know in the chat, actually, how do you guys feel about that? Do you think I am totally out to lunch? Do you think I am bang on? Do you not know how to feel about the market right now? What is everyone else feeling? It was Lord Dumpy who got you into it, as in Trump. Uh-oh. Trump's starting to look like Gummy. Yeah. Stu's conviction on not giving one fuck about absolutely any noise whatsoever is inspiring. Thank you. I take that as a compliment. Yeah, Adrian gets it. I know he loves the trigger posts. It's funny too, hey, it's always like, I mean, it is usually a few of the same people, but honestly, I feel like most people have a hard time looking past the fundamentals. And I don't know, my thing is, yeah, eventually the price is going to reverse. Eventually we're going to go to the upside again, but I don't know. Right now, I just don't see a reason why we have to, is the main thing. Feeling scared, bearish, and liquidated. Well, hopefully it was the good kind of liquidating yourself like we were talking about on Friday. Or it will be a slow, we go up, trap, and then drop, or it will just be a slow grind down with denial of the bull market over for many. Yeah, very possible. And like I said, just anytime I see this on the weekly, I'm going to get bearish. And especially because, like I said, if I see this on the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 1 hour, the 4 hour, I'm going to short it every single fucking time. So when I see it on the weekly, I'm going to also consider it possibly bearish. And yeah, eventually I strongly believe that is going to be a cycle ender. I'm not saying this time has to be, but I think it makes sense for a decent sized correction every time we get that. And once that correction starts, I am bearish until proven otherwise, just like down here. Yeah, I know a lot of people say I was wrong because we went up eventually. Yeah, I had 3 beautiful short, like big swing moves down. I had no complaints about having a very tight invalidation the last time, because I mean, that's the thing, right? There was a lot of people FOMOing into resistance every time and taking huge losses. Whereas when I had 3 beautiful swing trades to the downside, actually maybe even 4, probably more realistically. I had big scalps turning into big swings kind of a thing. But when I finally did end up getting invalidated, it's like, okay, so I was shorting from resistance here until there. So okay, yeah, so I missed like a 8-9% move or something like that, but a lot of people got wrecked with 30% several times, right? So that's kind of where just playing the trend and having invalidation levels, because the difference too is, guys, I am very willing to be wrong. If I'm wrong on this, that's totally fine. I have my invalidations, whereas a lot of people who are like just moon boys right now from the fundamental standpoint, they don't have invalidations in mind. They aren't even considering that. And that's where it gets dangerous, when you are not willing to consider the possibility that you're wrong. I would way rather 100% of the time, I would rather listen to somebody who says they don't have a fucking clue what's going to actually happen, but here's their game plan, rather than someone who says, I know this is what's going to happen. I would listen to the uncertain guy every time because he sounds more realistic. Oh boy. That's a nice looking McDonald's pattern there for you, Smolio. Loving it. Some of us are loving it. Most of the market not pumped. Yeah, BTC 15 minute really has this resistance it's fighting with right now. Let's check out the 5 minute again. And guys, I need you guys to understand that I could be wrong. I don't want to hear about, well, Stu, you were so bearish and I got wrecked. Well, you know what? Like I say, reacting is the important part, because we could have the same predictions, same trend lines, same fibs, same indicators, absolutely everything. And I promise you we'll trade this market different. So execution is always more important. And like, that's another thing too, guys. If you're looking at my strategy, if it doesn't catch your eye, don't try and trade it, right? Like, you have to trade what works for you. That's why backtesting is so important. And TradeView has this replay feature here. You can go back to a random spot in the chart and you can, okay, here's a set of rules for my trade execution. How many times does it play out? How many times does it not play out? Notice you will not go back and look at what the fundamentals were or what the news articles were saying on all of those trade setups either. So that's where, when we come to present time, you also don't know what the news is doing or anything like that. You just play your chart setup, know your probabilities, have your invalidations. That's it. Yeah, the move to 71 hasn't been retested. Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing where I promise I'll trigger a lot of people. If we start going down to levels like 71K, actually 71 wouldn't be so bad. I'd still have my concerns, because honestly, the way I'm looking at this structure, okay, you know what? Just to show what I really mean and more clearly, let's take the wicks out of the game. Let's look at candle body structure. This is where it gets a little more real and a little more scary, doesn't it? That we technically lost a very important support level, and then we came back up and we got rejected at a very important resistance level, pretty much perfectly in that resistance level. So just understand what's happening right now is we got some pretty bearish structure there. And the fact that we lost that and have less strength in the market since that, if we drop all the way to 71, I feel like the structure of this chart, to put it nicely, is totally fucked. I could be wrong on that, but I think if we drop that low, I don't know. I have my concerns that we would do something like this, where we would end up dropping towards that 71 area. And guess what we would have ourselves set up for at that point would be one very nasty Stuber Fib setup. And everyone would be screaming again, all-time highs, here we come. Maybe we even do and just get a liquidity grab. But understand that this is, if that happens, if we drop to 71 and we get a bounce, even with this strong downtrend in mind, the FOMO posts will be unbearable in this level. You heard it here first. If it happens, there's a lot of what ifs between now and then. But if that happens, that is where you are going to see FOMO posts get absolutely ridiculous. That is where everyone's going to start longing with a ton of leverage into resistance. That is where I will be going short, and we are going to see what happens at that time if this all happens. Like I said, a lot of what ifs between now and then. Another thing I want to talk about is, this is one of the last things I want to talk about. Here's the thing, guys. Actually, let me get the Wix back in here just because I like Wix. Here's the thing, guys. And let's face it, most of the world, specifically crypto people, are for the most part quite bullish on what Trump is doing for crypto, and a lot of people are actually bullish on what he's doing for the American economy, saying that, you know, the American economy is going to be the strongest it's ever been. If that's true, I want you guys to understand that that most likely means the US dollar is going to do very well. And I mean, I'm seeing it right now. My Canadian dollars compared to the American dollars, totally eating shit. My Bitcoin dollars compared to the American dollars, also not doing great. So why do we assume, and here's another thing with that, is everybody loves to say, you know, while the US dollar is dropping, Bitcoin's going to be pumping, kind of a thing, but they hate looking at it the other way. To be fair, right now, I think the DXY is actually dropping a little bit. And to be fair, maybe I'm wrong about this, right? Maybe the US dollar just, maybe they print a ton of money again, and whatever, the US dollar ends up dropping off a cliff again. Absolutely possible. I'm just looking at this as a way of trying to think about the fundamentals from an outside basis, and hopefully this helps you understand why fundamentals can be misunderstood. Is that if they think that, okay, Trump and the American economy is going to be just freaking booming, that's awesome for Bitcoin. Is it though? Because that means if the US dollar is going to be doing well, if it does, then, and hear me out here too, the US dollar and Bitcoin can move the same direction. The DXY and Bitcoin have absolutely moved together in the past. It'll do it again, but a lot of people think there's a direct inverse correlation there, and for the most part, it usually is. So that's just one way of looking at this, as, you know what, if you're bullish on their economy, you think they're going to flourish and that kind of thing. Well, what makes you think that Bitcoin's going to outperform their dollar in that case? It absolutely can. I'm just trying to look from an outside perspective, trying to see things from all angles. So that is what it is. I've actually been talking about Bitcoin, or sorry, the DXY getting a little bit higher. I actually called this pump on the DXY based on nothing but Stuber Fibs, right? Because we had this structure break right here, because we had our low, lower low, lower high, pull a bullish fib there. Actually had two Stuber setups. You guys know I usually only like the first, and obviously I'm not trading the DXY, but still following the same pattern, right? We get that bullish structure break, bouncing at the 786, 886. I said if we broke through my 214 target, which is typically my Stuber range target, I figured if we end up breaking above this range that we would end up eventually testing this fib pocket up here. And so in that case, I think that it does have a little bit more room to climb, and that if they are going to be inverse correlated, I think it makes a lot of sense that, you know, the DXY ends up finding support relatively soon and taking another run to the upside here. And in that case, if Bitcoin's already weak, well, I can take a guess at what's going to happen. It might not be right, but I could take a guess. If we end up breaking that level, I mean, just to show you how accurate these are, guys, right? Like, I mean, most of you guys, you're all familiar with me pulling those Stuber Fibs on Bitcoin, but I remember pulling this around COVID. Even this on the DXY, this is a 25-year fib pull, and look how perfectly that Stuber Fib was rejected there. So you know what? Maybe that is a bigger rejection. Maybe we're basically topping out right now and we continue to the downside. Then in that case, yeah, you know what? Bitcoin breaks its all-time high, invalidates that my bearish signal on the weekly, off to the races, dollar plummets, great. Everybody's happy, right? But as it stands right now, I do still think that it's possible we test a little bit higher into this smaller fib pull. But we'll have to see how that goes. I'm not one of those people who puts too much weight in this. It's just another thing to consider, and it just kind of fits that argument of, well, if the US dollar is going to be flying to the upside, then, you know, maybe our crypto bags don't. Specifically Trump coin. If the MDX leaderboard allowed shorting, thinks Stu would be the winner with the Trump coin. Yeah, or with Trump alone. There's a chance. I would be shorting it every week. Speak your mind, Stu. Haven't been holding back too much, I hope. If BTC wants to be gold or the next gold, it has to start to act on it and lose the high volatility or eventually have to do it. I mean, yeah, but the people who control the markets and which way it goes, they're able to wait and be patient and push things. And if that's Bitcoin's typical characteristics, then maybe they want to keep it that volatile. Here's the thing. I actually want to bring up, this will blow your minds. This is going to be a very theoretical, this is going to be, well, no, not theoretical. It is a fractal. Yeah, let's just call it a fractal, actually. If Bitcoin is going to enter a bear market, sorry, before anyone gets triggered, if, I am not saying this is the bear market time, but if it does, I just want to kind of go over what's happened previous cycles. And again, just showing the relevance of a Stuber Fib and how hopefully this section of the video will help you time the bottom of the bear market very well if this market cycle is going to continue the way every other market cycle has. Because I know everybody always says this cycle's different. Every cycle feels different because every cycle needs to be different to act the same. Cycles generally act the same, and this, I think you know where I'm going to go with this. This might look funny because it's on the log scale. Let's pull some fibs from market cycle bottom to top. Would you look at that? Where did that bear market end? Isn't that wild? Let's pull from that bear market bottom to our bull market top here. Where did our bear market bottom? Oh, would you look at that? Right in the middle of the Stuber Fib there. Let's pull another fib just for fun from that bear market bottom to this cycle top. Oh, where did we find a bottom? Would you imagine that? Right in the Stuber Fib pocket. I think you get what I'm getting at with this. And when we do end up getting our next bear market, and we're not going to know, even if we start dumping here, if we end up dumping all the way down to 60K even, I can't promise you it's a bear market, but I know what levels I'll be watching for if we do continue to dump. You know, I'll be doing something like this. And the thing is, right now, how I feel about this, I mean, this is where we trigger a lot of people because people have a hard time looking at the numbers on the side and saying, yeah, that's possible. Thing is, another thing with ignoring the noise, honestly, and a lot of you guys have probably noticed this and this does bug a lot of people, and I'm sorry if you're one of them, but when I look at charts, I rarely say the price because I have a hard time looking at the price until I decide I want to enter something. So usually I'm just looking at the structure until I actually look at the numbers. So if this was bear market o'clock, I would say that we're going down to at least 35K. I'd say realistically, probably closer to 30. And I'm sorry if that sounds hurtful. And if you don't think it's going to happen, it absolutely does not have to happen. And as we climb higher, if we climb higher, that number will change. But something to consider is that as this price climbs, I am going to be chasing it with this fib because when we do get that actual bear market, I know where I'm going to start loading up very heavily on every spot thing that I can. And this is going to be a bit of a life hack for that. And yes, this market cycle might be different, but every other market cycle has felt different and it has not been different. So a little life hack for you there. I always emphasize the if because people love to say well, you said this was going to happen. No, that's where the whole reacting comes over predicting. If this happens, I'm expecting this. If this happens, I'm expecting this. Reacting to what the chart gives you, because the chart does not care about us. Yeah, gold does not do 50% up or down in 6 months. Man, I remember the good old days with Bitcoin when it would move up and down 40% in one day. Those were the good old days. I've been having a shot every time Stu apologizes for the price action, and now I can see Harambe. You ready to shake hands with Jesus, are you? I guess that's the Canadian thing, right? I'm a maple quant pleb apologetic. A maple quant apologetic pleb. Hear more and more that it'll be easier this year to make money trading than holding and investing. I feel that way. Everything that I've like here, let's put it into perspective. I play around with meme coins a little bit, but that's more of a gambling account more than anything. Let's put it this way. I have caught an 80x. I have caught a 70x. I am down money on that account. That explains how well meme coins work to the average person. So I would say that trading goes a lot better than investing. But I mean, to each their own, right? Investing long time, you're going to do good. Not necessarily in meme coins, but in proper. See, that's where fundamentals come in. That is where fundamentals come into play, is investing, not in trading. Meme coins are over. Zoomers and Gen Z ruined it. Yeah, honestly, here's the thing. Like, guys, and they didn't just ruin meme coins, they ruined the altcoin market. And I know at around this time every cycle, people always start to say that, oh, I don't think there's going to be an altcoin season this cycle. I understand that I'm being one of those people right now, but I can't wait for the bear market because I think it's going to be so much more profitable than the bull market, just because of how this bull market played out. The last two bull markets, you could basically buy and hold any altcoin, and you pretty much would have done good. This cycle, you really had to get lucky on picking something good that performed well over time. Yes, a lot of things went through their phases, but for something that consistently went up in the altcoin market, there wasn't a whole lot of them. Earlier in the bull market, there was, but and there's some coins that did. But on how many that have been spoken about and how many actually have done well, it's far and few between. In the bear market, we all know damn well that 100% of those meme coins are going to drop 98%. They're going to bounce a little. They're going to drop 98%. They'll bounce a little. They'll drop 98%. We know every single meme coin is going to get absolutely hammered and capitulated during the bear market. So that's... I feel like the bear market with meme coins is going to be how everyone pictured alt season to be, but on the opposite way. And a lot of people are going to get wrecked instead of taking advantage of that. So I'm very excited. I think this bear market's going to be incredibly easy to play. That might just be me being a little arrogant or a little cocky or whatever you want to say, but I just can't help but feel that way. Will, I think you and I had spoke about that too. I think it's going to be easier to guess which one's going to do bad rather than guess which one's going to do good. Oh, shucks. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. Do I think they'll run a few at some point to try and generate retail FOMO so they can get out? Yeah, I think they've been doing it steadily over the last couple months, to be honest. Any bounce we see is short lived in the altcoins, and trust me, I'm holding some that are getting shit kicked. I feel ya. Like don't think it's not happening to me as well.
I just want to pop in and say something, Stu. One theory I've devised recently is that I saw a bunch of guys just streaming and rugging coins, and like everyone is doing it now. Like even on design Twitter, which was like completely clean, and there were some degens. A bunch of designers that I've seen, like bigger ones with like 100K followers, have all made meme coins and rugged them. And it's just like it's got to the point where I'm just like, bro, everyone is doing it. Like, you know when like you get that feeling, it's that uncomfy feeling when you're in the taxi and the dude talks about Bitcoin. That's like the feeling I've got in the meme coin space. I
Yep.
just look at it and I'm just like, this just can't continue. It's just ridiculous. There's just fucking millions of these things,
Yo,
and
literally fucking millions. There's
it's
like a hundred
fucking
thousand printed
insane.
a day.
It's just gotten too much. And if it continued on this trajectory, there would be billions and billions of coins next time. And it's just like my thought is this is just listen, every like I feel like we as crypto traders got good because we experienced market cycles quickly. So like I speak to old institutional traders and they're like, bro, it took us like 10 years to see a bull market to bear market transition, and like maybe you got good and learned there, right? But like you didn't get all the lessons taught to you in that cycle, whereas like we've experienced multiple cycles, so we like even on your chart you can see cycles, right? Like
Yep.
slower time frame. But
Yep.
like my theory is just like we learned 5 times quicker than the TradFi people because their average cycle's like fucking 10, 20 years and ours was 3 to 4. And
Yes.
so I feel like these meme coin guys, like I'm not saying that all of them are learning quicker, but like all the other guys who have like some idea, like I've got a few friends who've been like, bro, I tried trading Solana coins, everything went to zero, and they're all just out. They're not like, oh, I want to come back into crypto now. Let's FOMO. They all think this. They all think Bitcoin's too high, and then they can't catch any altcoin pumps because everything's dumping. And then if they go to Solana, they get completely and utterly devastated. So like that for me, speaking to loads of people that aren't actually traders, that's what they think about crypto. And I'm not saying that in a massively bearish way, but I do think people are massively exaggerating the fact that every 4 years everyone's going to come and buy your bags 20x the price that they were last year. I think that's coming to an end.
I
Sorry, that's
think
my little rant over.
I agree with you 100%. And that also ties into, I've been talking about where I think the market cycles period are going to get a lot less exciting than what us crypto people are used to. Everyone's celebrating BlackRock getting in, Sailor buying shit tons, like all these big entities getting in the space, and they think that's good for them. Like, for one, they have the time and the patience and the money to push the price where they want, and they can wait for it and screw. Like, if you're going to be, a random degenerate trader in your parents' basement or whatever, and you think you're going to beat the Wall Street guys who can literally manipulate order books, you're in for a rude awakening. And if you think that they are going to FOMO into the top and, you know, pump our bags for us, I don't think that's quite the thing either, right? So, like, and just the fact that there's so much more money in the space with these bigger players. And while I was talking about earlier about how every market cycle feels like this cycle's different because there's a new what does Raoul Pal say, a new wall of money or a wave of money or whatever fucking analogy people want to use to make it sound exciting. You need that every cycle to continue having these cycles, like these bull markets. I understand that there's a fixed supply with Bitcoin, but there is always more being mined. So there is technically more in circulation. Therefore, it takes a much higher price or much more money to keep the price at the same level, and then to push that into a new bull market you need bigger players getting into the space or more big players, right? So I mean, at this place, I know we talked about this already, who's bigger than governments, banks, and BlackRock? Literally nobody. So yes, more are going to get involved over time, but there's not really a new fresh wave, big wall of money as they call it. And I really wouldn't be surprised if our next bull markets are very uneventful compared to previous ones that we're used to. Everyone's celebrating these big players getting in the space, but I think it's going to make it super boring compared to previous market cycles. The good news is, as traders, the less volatile it gets, we can crank up that leverage. So we can still keep it volatile as that volatility dwindles, but I strongly believe that the big parabolic cycles. If we don't get one
And
this cycle, that might be the
Benito.
last. I still think we'll see higher prices, but I think it'll be in a much more controlled manner.
I completely agree with that. There's two things. I don't know if we even talked about this last stream, but I was thinking yesterday. I was like, bro, I felt so comfy buying Bitcoin back in like 2011, 12 because everyone told me I was crazy, and they were the people that weren't particularly successful. And now I feel uncomfy buying it here, and everyone calls me crazy. So it's just like it's always the inverse of like every time everyone calls you crazy, you're just early in the right thought generally. Do you know what I mean?
I
Like
know exactly what you mean.
you know what I mean? It's just so true. And everyone's like, oh, yeah. Like, everyone, I was always asking me, like, oh, you were in this ages ago now. And I'm like, yeah, you should probably not buy it, bro. It's over. And then,
Yeah.
well, not over. And then the other thing that I find funny is that last cycle, bro, everyone got 5K for free. The entire world basically got 5K for free. And we only went from 20K to 69K. So why do people think that if everyone's broke as fuck this cycle and they're not getting free money, that we're gonna go higher? It doesn't make any fucking sense. It's
Yes.
like, okay, if you want to go to fucking what? We were topped at 69, so you want to do higher than we did last. It just doesn't make sense. Like, how are we going to go to 200K when everyone's broke and doesn't have any money?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And actually, I was talking to some family about this the other day, but I, I can't. I don't know. I just feel like I guess with everyone being poor and just all the uncertainty around it, this retail doesn't seem to be FOMOing into it. I really think that if Trump and everybody loves crypto so much, they don't want to pay top dollar for it. I mean, there's just so many things where I just see that I just don't feel the same as I once did. I just feel like I don't know. I'm starting to feel red flags. I'm starting to feel like, and like you actually said, when people start disagreeing with you and calling you crazy, that's when you kind of know you're right. And I'm starting to see a lot of people disagreeing with me on social media and stuff again, just like what happened literally right here. Um, People are very pissy. I was literally losing followers as I was just aggressively trading the right direction. It was hilarious.
That's ridiculous.
Yep.
People never change. It's just like on accounts when you see like someone do a bullish post and it gets like 3,000 likes, and then they do a bearish one like a week later and it gets like 50 likes and loads of hate. Never change crypto Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this cycle at this point. Um, what I was yeah, again, what I was talking about with some family a couple days ago was like the only thing I could see turning this market parabolic again is something extremely bearish to happen. We need like to go full on parabolic. We could go a little higher. We could go to 120, something like that. I can totally see us getting one more liquidity grab, something like that, or even one more push. Um, but I feel like to actually go parabolic again, we need something crazy to happen in the market. We need a serious capitulation. You know what? People are calling this capitulation. I have a hard time with that. Like we're trading sideways in a very small range. That is not capitulation. And I think to actually go parabolic, we need actual capitulation. We need like a crazy bounce with crazy momentum. We need the money printer to start turning back on. We need all those factors. And if they're all about trying to make the government more efficient, turn down the money printing, all that sort of thing, I don't know. I just have a hard time seeing us going parabolic at this time. Maybe the bull market's not over, but I really don't think it's going to be like other cycles. I just have a feeling. I mean,
Yeah,
it's possible
I agree.
momentum carries us, and if people start long in the breakout and then FOMO happens, sure, you know what, maybe it does happen. I just have my red flags. I have my feelings.
What is funny though, bro, is that I agree, Bitcoin didn't capitulate, but that ETH move, if you look at ETH and you look back to like the third of what was it, the top, like the first top, like the 3rd of May 21, it basically, I think that dump was about 58% or something like that, 60%. And the dump that we just did was about 50% from the high. So it's quite funny. Like, I do, now that I look at that and I think about it, I understand why people's alts are so unbelievably fucking wrecked. Because,
Yep.
like, Bitcoin's chilling, but ETH literally nearly did the same percentage dump as the first top last year.
Yep.
So, it's pretty crazy that, actually.
Ugh. Yuck.
It is yuck, isn't it? That was a dirty dump.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, that's a rough looking chart. I mean, at least it did get bought back up at these levels, but I mean, we set a double top here. It's obvious we're gonna get one reaction off this support because that's a daily support level, right? Obviously, we're gonna get a reaction. Is that reaction gonna stick? Is the question, or is this just if I'm right about Bitcoin on the weekly, I have serious concerns about ETH. We got a sell signal. We have a lower sell signal on the daily time frame on ETH. I can't lie to you and say that looks good. Can't do it. R.I.P. Moonbags. That goes for mine. I was talking to mine. Yeah, why not lie to you? I'd get more followers. Um, guys, I think I'm going to about wrap up here. Yeah, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. So hopefully you guys did find this stream useful. For those of you watching this on my YouTube channel a little bit later, if you are interested in joining the MDX ALGO community, gain access to my favorite indicators and the best trading group out there, there is a link down below which gives a 10% discount on checkout. So with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.